Hello one, hello all, it's the gothiest ghost of them all, Caspa in the flesh. But first, we're gonna do something a little different because our boy Sean here is gonna rap. Sean, are you ready? Review time of Robinson, first name Porter. It's getting cold out, but this album, it's a scorcher. Well done, Sean, well done. Anyway, it's time for an album review of Porter Robinson, Smile. Smile is the follow-up album of EDM producer, singer-songwriter Porter Robinson, following up his LP Nurture, which is an amazing LP, was absolutely one of my favorites of that year with fantastic songwriting, great passages, mesmerizing and blissful electronic production, and definitely cathartic and therapeutic, especially within that time of the COVID-19 pandemic, which was a very dark time for me and probably a very dark time for everyone else in that time period. And I know we've all heard the term, "this music saved my life," but honestly, I really do mean this music saved my life. And I would say for Porter Robinson fans, probably the same effect as well, because that album was such a feel-good one, such a healing one. And I know people hold Worlds in high regards, and look, it's a decent album, but I'm more of a Nurture guy. Sorry. And truth be told, a Smile guy. But I will give Worlds this. It was definitely a precursor from what to expect on Nurture, and I would also say going forward as well. Because now, it's a couple years later, it's 2024, and we have this release right here. And with the singles being as good as they are, it definitely kept me on the edge of my seat, just waiting for more. Especially with one stellar, consistent single after the next. And certainly a stylistic switch up too, which unfortunately has left to longtime fan discourse. And to me, I really don't understand the reservations here. Like, it's still electronic, but you are getting less chipmunky vocals, you are getting less instrumental breakdowns, less vocal manipulations. It's really going more into the emo punk pop territory. And believe me, I did love those characteristics of that Nurture album, but he has to evolve. And honestly, I love the trajectory that he is bringing on this album. And I wouldn't say this album is as much as a getaway as Nurture was, but it is definitely expressive. It is definitely an inner expression of Porter on here. He's really bringing out how he feels internally with his emotions and also his vocals as well. Like, we're definitely hearing his vocals more present here, not as touched up as the last one, and not touched up as in a, AI airbrush type of way. No, the vocals are really more, I would say, bare here. And that's not to say the production doesn't bolster his personality or emotions here. They definitely do. It's just, there's definitely a vocal change here, and I'm definitely digging it. I feel the vocals, the sonics, and the lyrics just all work well as a well-oiled machine. Like, this album is certainly more colorful, it's more bright, it's more abrasive, expressive, punchy, emotional, tangible, and very exhilarating. While there is a emo electronic aesthetic here, we're also getting Indietronica, Britpop, indie rock. There's certainly a lot of electropop mixing with the indie rock. They go hand in hand really well. And what are the results? Adrenaline pumping, enthralling. And while these tracks can certainly be pessimistic in a topical respect, I definitely do acknowledge the uplift and the exuberance of the sonic presentation. And also dives into new territory sonically and also conceptually as well. I feel this thing is a no-holds-barred, expressive, explosive diary with a plethora of bangers. And this time around, Porter is very cheeky. He's very over the top as well, with sarcasm and at the same time awe-inspiring. Like on the opener, Knock Yourself Out, which does read very Postal Service-y, with a message to fan detractors, other pop artists, himself. where he's talking about throwing his phone into the sea, canceling his shows on the 5th, likening himself to Taylor Swift. It's a track of hilarity, but also acceptance as well. Letting people say what they will, whether it's positive or negative. It's definitely packed with self-awareness, but also a humorous jab to obsessors, people who put him at a higher standard. The production is killer too, with these bright video game-like synth melodies, blissful sound palettes, crispy drums, and a hook that just lives rent-free in my head. The following track, Cheerleader, which is equally bright, equally explosive, and I would say complement each other on a topical level. But this time more abrasiveness in an electronic way. The synths are absolutely bright, blaring, wailing, and blistering with a driving beat, soaring pained vocals. As Porter is speaking from the perspective of someone who is obsessed over the entitled toxic obsessor. The whole thing is so catchy, structured fantastically, but each word here is just so visual and so insanely catchy. There's definitely a punk vibe too. Like, it has the angst of a punk track, but the lightheartedness of a indie electronic track from the early 2010s. But to me, this sounds more sincere, it sounds more engaging. It's super punchy. It's the artist experiencing toxicity anthem, and the acoustic passage at the midpoint really complements the topical twist. Russian Roulette is yet another banger, with a pumping chord progression that's very melodic, infectious as hell, and does a great balancing act of catchy, impactful, while simultaneously being introspective. The track shares a lot of insight of vulnerability, success, criticism, detractors, prophecy, speaking on the plans of taking risks, but also having self-doubt. And a hilarious reference to Pitchfork trolling this band Jet and their sophomore album. Very obscenely, I might add. And I love the sonic passages here. This thing is so multifaceted, it's so beautiful. That starts off with this naked, rapid emo strumming that gives way to these beautiful heavenly synths, gorgeous glowing organs, and a guitar passage with a very heartfelt build that goes back into the chorus with these bubbly synth melodies to this automated vocal passage with automated vocal commentary at the end. And I do think it's pretty humorous how it's really giving you commentary and a play-by-play of what you're hearing sonically. And definitely a banger I was head over heels for. Unfortunately though, I do think the album hits a bit of a rough spot with Perfect Pinterest Garden. The hook is catchy, yes, but the commercial summery vibe just isn't really my thing. Also, I don't think there's much build or punch in comparison to the highlights on the album. Meanwhile, the structure of the track You're the Cup really leaves me scratching my head and I find kind of underwhelming. I mean, they really could have used a hook here, but due to the fact there's no hook, and just sample bits of a Lil Wayne interview, it kind of comes off more as an interlude than an actual track, which is a shame because this is certainly an introspective moment from Porter. And as long as I'm complaining, I might as well speak on Is There No Happiness, which has a good sentiment, but the execution just kind of leaves this track to meander, not really go anywhere, and doesn't really have as much build as I would have liked it to, especially with this track feeling so personal. Kitsune Maison Freestyle is another great cut here. It's half rapped, half sung, great electropop cut. I feel it has the aesthetics of Nurture, but still has the sonic distorted makeup that Smile has. And I feel like the sonic palette here really does complement the thematic sonics of this album. Conceptually speaking, on being confined to vanity, material possessions, striving to look your best to compensate for your inner turmoil. And I didn't really dig the spoken word bit at the end at first, but it does complement the track topically. The song Easier to Love You is easily the most heartbreaking track here. It's a very beautiful, heartening, gloomy acoustic cut of self-love that I feel does complement the previous track. I feel it parallels it in a very emotional and creative way. As Porter speaks on knowing your worth, self-love, uplifting oneself, seeking out goals, and really spoke to me as someone who is determined and experiences self-loathing at times. It has an absolutely mesmerizing outro that's reminiscent to me of Elliott Smith and the Postal Service. And we do get another heartwarming cut on here featuring Frost Children, which is the endearing Mona Lisa. It's very cinematic, very futuristic, very full, very ballad heavy, and very anthemic as well. It's a powerful one. It's a powerful one. It's a powerful, hard-hitting album, and this complements it. And the closer is very dreamy with these glistening piano keys, fat bass, and really speaks on the sentiment of finality, and I feel brings the album to a beautiful finish. So while this album may be not as fluid or robust as Nurture, I do think this album has a lot of color, emotional potency, great songwriting, catchy hooks, a lot of layers, super punchy. I mean, sure, there are some tracks that could have been built better, sure. But overall, this thing is filled with excitement, emotion, and just super exciting and engaging. And in my opinion, definitely worth the wait. And while this is a departure from Nurture, as I said before, it's still a very powerful experience. It's a religious experience. And I feel the emo inclusions and the personal turmoil that's put on here and the personality put on here really bolsters the quality of this album. And I wish more people would see it that way. And I'm excited for what Porter has next. I'm feeling the blackest 4 out of 5 hearts on this album. If you've given this a listen, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? This is my opinion, my channel. I am your plug. Give the video some love. Please sub. Caspa, Gothic Ghost, Porter Robinson. Till we meet again.